The fire alarm's wail cut through the calm of Willow Grove Commons like a knife, sharp and unyielding, slicing the midday peace into chaos. It was the kind of sound that made your heart jump, even if you knew it was just a drill. City rules demanded these twice-a-year evacuation exercises, and the condo association enforced them with a zeal that bordered on obsession. On the third floor, doors creaked open along the plush carpeted hallway, and residents stepped out, their faces a mix of mild irritation and routine compliance. Some muttered about the disruption. Others hustled toward the glowing stairwell exits, eager to get it over with and gather in the manicured courtyard below. Among them was 84-year-old Margaret Hale, easing out of Unit 312, her home for nearly 2 decades. She moved with careful precision, her small wheeled oxygen Tonka lifeline for her sapede bumping softly against the doorframe. Her breathing was heavy, a faint wheeze trailing each exhale, but her eyes held a quiet determination. Drills like this were a hassle, interrupting her reading or phone calls, but Margaret was no stranger to doing things right. She'd lived long enough to know preparation mattered. Overseeing the chaos was Vivian Marsh, the self-appointed queen of the third floor's evacuation. Dressed in a flashy pink tracksuit that screamed money, she clutched a laminated checklist like it was a royal scepter. Vivian was a force on the HOA board, chair of the VY-TAL Safety Committee, and she wore her authority like a crown. Her sharp eyes scanned the corridor, hunting for anyone daring to stray from her perfectly choreographed drill. "Move it, people. Single file, no dawdling," she barked, her voice cutting through the alarm screech. Most residents avoided crossing her Vivian's lectures were legendary, and nobody wanted a fight during a mandatory drill. Margaret reached the stairwell's top landing, pausing to catch her breath. The concrete steps loomed ahead, unforgiving for someone juggling an oxygen tank. She gripped the railing tightly with both hands, one for balance, the other for leverage, Vivian no way to lift the tank without risking a fall. Vivian stood nearby, waving residents down with impatient gestures, her face already pinched with stress. "Excuse me, Vivian," Margaret called, her voice polite but strained over the alarm. "Could you help me with my tank for just a moment? It's tricky on these stairs." Vivian spun around, her brows shooting up in annoyance. She glanced at the green tank, then at Margaret, her expression hardening into something cold, almost cruel. "Margaret, for God's sake," she snapped, her tone dripping with disdain. "This is a fire drill. We have rules. Everyone moves fast, no exceptions." She waved a hand toward the stairs. "I can't stop the whole floor to carry your equipment. You should have arranged help if you can't handle it." The accusation hung heavy. Margaret's disability was somehow her fault, a deliberate wrench in Vivian's perfect plan. "Hurry up, you're holding everyone back," Vivian added, turning away, already dismissing her. A flush of shame and anger crept up Margaret's cheeks. She wasn't asking for a piggyback ride, just a steady hand for a few seconds. Taking a ragged breath, she tightened her grip on the railing, her knuckles whitening, and began the slow, agonizing process of bumping the tank down the first step. Each move was deliberate, her focus razor-sharp to avoid a misstep. Behind her, residents shuffled, some casting sympathetic glances, others visibly annoyed. Vivian, now below, tapped her foot loudly, her arms crossed, radiating impatience. The delay, maybe a minute at most, was clearly an affront to her ironclad schedule. Then, with a dramatic sigh that carried over the alarm, Vivian decided she'd had enough. "Move aside, Margaret," she commanded, charging up the stairs to squeeze past. In her rush, driven by pure arrogance, she didn't care about the tight space or the frail woman in her path. Her hyper, maybe her leg slammed into Margaret's side. The impact was sudden, brutal. Margaret gasped, her hands slipping from the railing, her feet tangling in the oxygen tubing. She pitched forward, tumbling down the remaining steps in a sickening blur, landing in a crumpled heap on the landing below. The thud echoed, drowning out the alarm for those frozen in horror. Her tank clattered beside her, rolling to a stop against the wall. A sharp cry escaped Margaret, replaced by pained moans that tore at the onlookers' hearts. The alarm blared on, oddly VYS, but a new kind of panic seized the crowd. "Oh my God!" someone shouted. Residents surged forward, faces etched with concern. VYN, now past obstruction, stood a few feet away, looking back not with guilt, but with a chilling mix of irritation and blame. "Honestly," she said loudly, "tripping like that? This is why drills matter. Some people are just a hazard." Her words were shameless, deflecting fault onto the woman writhing in pain. "You pushed her," roared a man in a green jacket who'd been right behind Margaret. "You bumped her hard, we saw it." Others nodded, their shock turning to anger. VYN ignored them, flipping through her clipboard as if it held the answer to this inconvenience. "Someone call 911, she said dismissively. "The rest of you, get to the courtyard. The drill's not over." But the drill was over. Sirens wailed closer, and an ambulance screeched to a stop outside, followed by a fire department SUV. Out stepped James Hale, the city's fire safety director, who'd been nearby reviewing plans for this very drill. His radio had crackled with a medical emergency call, the VY Tim's name Margaret Hale hitting him like a punch. He strode into the lobby, his eyes catching the cluster of residents at the stairwell. Paramedics knelt beside a familiar figure. His mother, her white hair stark against the concrete, her oxygen tank askew. James's calm shattered. He knelt beside her, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "Mom, it's James." "What happened?" Her voice was faint, trembling. "My hip. I think it's broken." That woman, VYN, she wouldn't help. Pushed right past me. The paramedic's grim nod confirmed it. A possible fractured hip, needing immediate transport. As they secured Margaret for the stretcher, James stood, his face a mask, but inside, rage and fear churned. His eyes locked on VYN, now arguing defensively with the man in the green jacket, gesturing wildly, still blaming Margaret. James knew her from heated HOA meetings and his mother's complaints about her bullying. He took a steadying breath, his professional side taking over. Approaching the fire captain, he spoke with quiet authority. "I'm James Hale, fire safety director. This drill is done. Secure the stairwell for investigation. Get County PD here for a possible felony assault. Witnesses say VYN Marsh caused this through negligence or worse." The captain nodded, relaying the order. As Margaret was carried to the ambulance, James made another call. "Captain, I want a full fire safety inspection of this complex, starting now. This incident raises serious questions about safety culture here." The captain hesitated, but James's tone left no room for debate. "Every alarm, extinguisher, egress path, check it all. Document everything." Inspectors swarmed Willow Grove, and the findings were chilling. In VYN's apartment, the smoke alarm was deliberately disconnected, its battery compartment taped to silence warnings. A vacant HOA-managed unit showed the same tampering. The main fire alarm panel logged months of ignored faults, with no maintenance records. Worse, residents admitted VYN had helped disable their alarms, claiming they were too sensitive or annoying. The pattern was clear. VYN, the safety chair, had systematically undermined the building's protections, all to avoid minor inconveniences. James relayed the findings to the police and city attorney. VYN's actions weren't just negligent, they were criminal. She faced charges for assaulting Margaret and reckless endangerment for endangering countless residents. The trial was a spectacle, with witnesses recounting VYN's callousness, inspectors presenting damning evidence, and James explaining the lethal risks of disabled alarms. VYN's defense that she meant well and didn't understand the risk scrambled under her documented safety role and the overwhelming evidence. The jury's guilty verdict was swift, convicting her of felony assault and multiple endangerment counts. The judge's sentencing was scathing. "Ms. Marsh, you betrayed your neighbor's trust, valuing your convenience over their lives." VYN got prison time fines, and lost her assets to lawsuits from a reformed HOA and residents. Willow Grove overhauled its safety systems under James's oversight, with a new board prioritizing transparency and resident safety. Margaret, after grueling surgery and rehab, returned home, buoyed by a tighter-knit community. Neighbors now checked on each other, a silver lining from the trauma. One day, watching a routine alarm test, she flinched at the familiar wail, but then smiled faintly. Testing her own new smoke detector, she nodded at its clear signal. Anne's name became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the cost of arrogance and the power of a community that refuses to let it win.